Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sam and Cole podcast. We're recording this Sunday night, right before the fourth and final exhibition game for the Jaguars. I hate to call it a preseason game, Cole.
And especially an exhibition.
Right. And after the third dress rehearsal game that was played at home against the Detroit Lions. Once again, thanks to the guys at Champion Cycling, Phil and Jeff and Brian and Jim and all those guys, and the three locations at Arlington, the Beach, and Mandarin for their continued support. Cole, the loss to Detroit, I don't think it matters on the scoreboard. You don't like to get used to being on the short end of a scoreboard, but nonetheless, look at the first three quarters of the game. But the Jaguars had an upside on offense. They converted at 1.7 consecutive third downs, and I think they were 10 of 12 in third down efficiency. And Blake Bortles looked comfortable again. He still is running an offense that they're not going to run during the regular season if Julius Thomas and Mercedes Lewis are healthy, because they're running a three wide receiver set, which they will rarely run if they're both healthy. And I thought that defensively they still showed some shortcomings. And if you want to play that, basically that single high safety with 8 guys in the box and man covers on the outside, that if you don't get the man coverage, or you don't get pressure on the quarterback, or you don't stop them at the point of attack, you're going to give up a bunch of yards.
I agree with you completely. I think and just to refresh for those who either didn't listen to the last podcast or got bored listening to me and didn't want to hear it anymore, this was the first Jaguars game that I have not covered by being there, first home game,
right?
96 since I moved here. So I went back and watched it, already knowing what had happened, or seeing social media buzz and so forth. I was calling the Bulls high school football game, so
which turned out to be a pretty good football game.
Yeah. By the way, this just in: Bulls 4A Bulls beat 8A Lake Mary. Yeah, Lake Mary was 11-1 each of the last 2 years,
and they were down
20 early. They were down early on the opening kickoff return for a touchdown by Lake Mary. And then Bulls came back and won it. That aside, I thought Bortles, this is the third preseason game. It's the most important one to look good. But one of the things that I have come to believe about preseason football in the NFL is it's less about showing what you can do, because often things are so vanilla. There's not a lot of game plan. You're not showing everything that you're going to do. The other teams aren't, the whole bit. But more showing that I think it's more worrying if you show what you can't do, if you catch my drift. Mm-hmm. So Bortles hasn't shown much that he can't do in this preseason. I think he's been very good. Threw a touchdown pass. That was a real positive. I want to see more of those, by the way, but I think that was good. I'll even give Luke Jokel credit. Thought he played very well.
Stepped forward. Stepped up a little bit.
I thought he was acceptable. Mm-hmm. And that's what they need him to be, at very least, to be acceptable. Hearns made some nice catches. TJ Yeldon showed some positive, although he wasn't spectacular. He showed a couple of things. Mercedes Lewis, I thought, played very well. The offense looked really good. And honestly, I did not think the offense would be ahead of the defense at any point, barring major injuries. And my thought was that at some point this year, if the defense was not ahead of the offense, it would be bad news for the defense. Well, maybe it's partly good news for the offense and bad news for the defense, because my concern is about the defense and the lack of pass pressure. And again, I know they're not running blitzes, not doing this sort of thing, but Gus Bradley's not a big blitz guy by and large. So that concerns me. And the other thing I would just point out about that game, Sam, if you could, please write a small outline to be distributed to all media members to tell them it's a preseason game. Don't care about the final score.
Right. Well, that's true.
The final scores don't matter at all, but you watch the performance of the first team and you go, oh, that's a pretty good offense. And boy, that defense has got some work to do.
Bortles' touchdown pass beat Rashean Mathis, who was peeking into the backfield. And it was
first time ever.
Right. It was interesting. Either they'd seen something, they knew that about him, or because if you look at Bortles on the replay there, he absolutely kind of half pumps faked as if that ball's going to come into the middle of the field. And Rashean takes a step forward. and the receiver runs behind him, and his guy's wide open. So that's good. Good savvy. Think back to when Mark Brunell was in his second year in 1996.
And I wasn't here for that preseason,
right.
So tell me what he looked like at that point.
He looked like the guy that Blake Bortles is now. Still kind of figuring it out, but had the same offensive coordinator, Kevin Gilbride, for 2 consecutive years. Really understood the offense, had a lot of confidence in the guys around him, and they were all very young. All of them were very young guys, whether it was Keenan, whether it was Jimmy. These are guys that Pete Mitchell, exactly. These are guys that all grew up together in the NFL. And Bortles looks that way. I think and you might have seen the tweet that I sent out on this during the game. After 2 games in 1 quarter, my takeaway was it's not just Bortles that has bought into this offense. Everybody on offense has bought into this offense. They're excited about that.
But did you think there was a lack of buy-in last year on the offense?
Because I think there were some veteran players, and the veteran players knew that it was kind of a hodgepodge that they were putting together, and the rookies weren't sure that this was going to work. Whereas this year, they're convinced that if it's 3rd and 8 from their own 30, they've practiced this play, they know this play, and they're going to run this play.
I see what you mean. Yeah, there's more confidence out there, and that always flows from the same place. And I don't care, no matter how good a leader Tony Boselli was in those early years, if Brunell didn't believe it, nobody else was going to believe it.
That's right, 100% correct. I mean, it comes right from the quarterback, and Bortles absolutely believes that he can convert any situation, and showed a lot of it in that game. You're not supposed to be able to convert those 3rd downs at that rate, and they were able to do that. Some of it was him running, but others were just good, solid play calls and good reads by him, and good throws and good catches.
I want to see him running less in the preseason in the future. Right,
please.
First of all. Although I will give him credit on the 3rd down run he converted, where Joko did get kind of half beat and he moved over that way and spun away. He did a very positive thing, and you could see it when they showed the end zone angle from behind. As he got the 1st down, he dove away from the linebacker. The safety was coming over from his right. He dove past the guy coming from the left. So he basically Marvin Harrison used to be great at this. He would, all right, I can either get 3 more yards or 2 more yards. 3 more yards, I'll get hit. 2 more yards, I won't. Well, if you're a quarterback, you should always make that decision. 2 more yards down, good. I really like what Bortles has done in the preseason. I still would like. I think he pushed the ball down the field more in this game than he had before. So I think we can say, because other than injuries, there's nothing that's going to happen in that 4th preseason game that's going to change my mind on the trajectory that Bortles is taking right now.
Agreed. And I think you really have to look at Mercedes Lewis is rejuvenated. The running game, if they have their complement of guys, and you can't play the what if this guy's not hurt or this guy's got hurt, because you got to play with the guys that you play. Yeldon looks like the same player that they know they drafted, but the guys around him are bigger and faster, and he even admitted after the game he needs to adjust to the speed of the game in this league. And so offensively, I think that they look like that they'll develop, and they'll keep themselves in games. They won't back up. They won't have a half dozen 3-and-outs during the game. I think it was something ridiculous. The offense, and I know it was preseason, but the offense had something ridiculously 89 plays. Does that sound right? It was
I know they had long drives in the first half.
Outrageous number of plays. Now defensively, and you can't play the what-if game about Dante Fowler and now Andre Branch, which I think is an important loss for them, that Chris Smith will step into that role. But I just if you don't stop the guys at the point of attack when you're playing the kind of defense the Jaguars are playing, then there are going to be some guys running downfield. And if Devon House and either Dwayne Gratz or Aaron Colvin or Bobby, who's the other cornerback? I can't think of his name, but whatever. If those guys get beat and you're not getting the pressure on the quarterback, as you mentioned, then you're going to give up a lot of long plays. And Gus's philosophy, and talking to him, out of the press conference situation. He says, look, I'd rather have a defense that gives up 1 yard, 2 yards, 4 yards, 1 yard, 3 yards, and then 26 than one that consistently gives up 3, 4, and 5 yards every time they carry and throw the football.
And I will tell you, they're getting beat in the line of scrimmage right now. It's not just lack of pass rush. They got pushed around by the Steelers in particular, and the Lions also on Friday. One other thing, so the Jaguars also made their first line of cuts down to 75. Tandon Doss, probably the most notable player, and most Jaguars fans have no attachment or thought about Tandon Doss because he hadn't really ever done anything for the Jaguars since he got here. But the one guy who wasn't cut that I think we have to point out is Jason Myers, who's the second kicker. And there's this theory that the Jaguars want to trade one of their kickers for a draft pick. I think it's I'd be shocked if they get anything other than maybe a 7th round pick for a kicker. But beyond that, the other thought is that they might be trying to trade Josh Scobie, which again I think would be just a ridiculous move by them at this point.
Not only from a talent standpoint, but also from a PR standpoint, because he's a pretty popular player.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they're concerned about PR at that level at this point. You know, you're not trading your future; you're trading your present. Yeah. If you trade Josh Scobie.
And well, it is Myers has got a very strong leg and showed very capable in-game abilities every time he's been out there. He will kick in the league.
Yeah. I mean. You rarely draft.
So will Casey Redfern, I think.
Yeah, who's done a nice job as a punter. He was let go.
Well, also punt in the league. Yeah.
All right. Let's one more preseason game Thursday night this time. So they're not going to be conflicting with any high school football games. Nice.
I thought it was funny that Gus didn't rule out playing the starters some today.
I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean. He didn't rule it out. He didn't say. He said, we'll see. I mean, they had a lot of plays. We're trying to be smart with them. Blah 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 blah. But I mean, there's no reason for Bortles to go out there in this game.
And by the way, there's no reason for the 4th preseason game to exist.
Well, that is true. There's no reason for. I mean, maybe you give T.J. Yeldon a few carries to kind of once again. Denard Robinson doesn't have to play in this game. Let Corey Grant, Storm Johnson just fight it out for that last spot.
Yeah.
There's no reason Mercedes Lewis has to play in this game. If you want to take a look at Tyler Shatley, who may be the start, depending on Linder's toe injury, Shatley may be the starting right guard come the 13th against.
By the way, mega strong player, strongest guy on that offensive line, Shatley.
You think really? You think so? Wow,
that's what they tell me.
Huh? How about that? So. There's no reason for those guys to play. I mean, let Sam Young and some of these other players get AJ Cann in the game. Let him play. Let Blanco get some snaps. There's no reason for Jokel to be in the game. I mean, just all of that. If these guys are if they're not ready without taking 10 snaps against the Redskins, then they're not going to be ready 10 days from then either.
Especially against the Redskins of all teams that are really in a mess right now. All right, we should just mention the Sharks had the lead in the 3rd quarter of the Arena Bowl and wound up getting steamrolled by the best team in the Arena League, the San Jose SaberCats, who had only lost 1 game all year. And so the Sharks lose the Arena Bowl, but terrific year. And Les Moss, again, to me, sometimes you find guys who just are great coaches in their realm, and he's one of those guys.
He is the best coach at his sport that we have experienced, and you're right. And I thought Don Coble wrote a very poignant and excellent article on Les and his relationship with his father right before they went out there. In fact, if I see Don, I'm going to tell him what a good story that was. And it gives you a sense that in arena play, the ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage, it's intercepted, run back for a touchdown. Next time they get it, they have the ball and they fumble, and you've got to. I mean, literally, there's defense, but there's not a lot of it in that league. And if you give up 2 possessions where you get 0 points. Doesn't matter who you're playing, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, that's right. And I will tell you, too, and I'll give you my experience on Saturday night. I was at community first park of the baseball grounds, waiting for the Armada to begin to do our broadcast. And we're in a lightning delay because there's all kinds of lightning around. And so we put the people who were controlling the scoreboard and the Armada put the Arena Bowl up on the big screen. And, even though you've got some level of competition, a certain amount between the Sharks and the Armada, because they play at the same time and they're both going after ticket sales.
That dollar.
Frankly, I think there's not as much overlap in terms of the fans. There are different types of fans, but that was just one of those moments that, you know what? Here we go. We've got one Jacksonville team is waiting and waiting for the Lightning to go by. Let's watch the other Jacksonville team go for a championship. It's not an NFL level thing, but it kind of gave me a nice little warm feeling about the sports community in Jacksonville, that here we are waiting for this game to get started, and we're all going to watch this. And it reminded me a couple of times you see, particularly in the playoffs or close to the playoffs in baseball, where you might see they put up a football game or something, or in hockey, and they put up a basketball game for the other team, for the hometown team playing on the road or something. So just kind of a fun little moment there as we waited out. Right, waited the Lightning.
You wouldn't have seen this, but after the Jaguar game on Friday night, on both scoreboards, which, in case you have forgotten, are the largest in the world.
Oh, is that right? Somebody should publicize that.
The Jaguars put the Sharks logo up with a big,
I saw a picture of it, yeah,
that said, "Hey, good luck to our neighbors or our whatever, the Jacksonville Sharks in the Arena Bowl tomorrow night." I thought it was a real nice move, because that's not anything that's ever happened before. And the Sun's social media spent a lot of time on Saturday congratulating the Sharks for getting there and wishing them well. So, you're right. I mean, all of those things are I think, coming together. Part of it is how Shad has talked about some of these other teams, about how important that whole area down there is, and I think that all that stuff comes from the top. I think. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, it does, but I'm not sure it all comes from the same top. I'll just say that. I think you've got an ownership change with the Suns, and that's certainly, we'll see how that's going to impact things. It's starting to already, and you've got a new club in the Armada, and you've got a Sharks team that's been very successful. So we'll see. It's something. If I was a sports business reporter, I would find this to be a very interesting time in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, put it this way. The top in my mind includes Les Moss, Ken Babby, some senior VPs with the Jaguars, and Mark Frisch.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah. I thought you meant from Shad down. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
That's where I see a kind of an understanding of where everybody fits into the picture.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that's well said. Finally, speaking of the Armada, 90 minutes worth of Lightning for a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, no.
Long night, but I was amazed by, first of all, they sold about a little over 7,000 tickets for the game.
Wow.
Certainly not everybody showed up because of the weather, and there's the horrific crash with the tanker blowing up on 95 and so forth. But I'm going to say maybe 5,000 were there near the beginning. And I think over 3,000 were there at the end. So wow. Great showing, particularly Section 904. It was military appreciation, and they didn't get to do everything they wanted because of the weather and so. But great support. Great to see the support that. And there were a lot of wet folks leaving there at 11 o'clock at night when the thing ended.
We went to the practice at NAS Jacks, which I thought was done very well by both the Armada and by the Navy. I thought both sides did just a great job in promoting what was going to happen and letting people come see it, and then letting the media do the story as well. I thought that was good. I'm sure you had a hand in that. So kudos to you.
It's a very small one, but it was a great atmosphere though. Yeah. And the funny thing I'll say about that is that you look around the field there where they're practicing. I saw Manchester United shirt. I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
a Bayern Munich shirt. Saw a U.S. men's national team shirt. Saw Italy national team shirt. Saw a son with a Barcelona hat and a dad with a Real Madrid shirt on. And I thought, how did this happen?
How'd that happen? Right, exactly. Well, you got to figure those Navy guys, they're traveling a lot, and they've seen around. One other thing, since we're kind of covering the gamut of sports here, a lot of people have asked me, why are the Suns so bad? And think about
their players are in the bigs.
Right. Think about the championships that they've won for the Bragans. They don't feel like they have to put any players here this year. If a guy's in single A and playing well, he doesn't have to come to double A this year. He can fill the season out there and get a full season behind him. They don't have to send anybody down from triple A because this ownership group, the Bragan family, they're no longer going to be beholden to them after September 1st or whenever it is. But so that's why, they haven't really stocked this team with some of the best players. And as you mentioned, the Marlins are, I would say, relatively thin in their minor leagues because you see their starting lineup for the Miami Marlins, and it's a lot of guys
3 years in Jacksonville
who have played here. Exactly. So
the other part of this is that it's a very interesting sort of sub conversation that goes on with major league clubs and their minor league affiliates because they want to make sure that they're successful. But obviously the number one thing for the major leagues clubs is to develop the talent so they become valuable, that they can either make it to the big leagues or be traded and bring more value to the major league franchise. But most minor league teams' success at the box office is not impacted by success on the field, right? So there may be times where you say, yeah, we want you to do this, and the Suns can certainly talk about, oh yeah, Southern League champions, this and that, but I'd like to go back and look at not just attendance but revenue numbers, something I won't be able to do very easily anyway, and see what happens in the year after a team wins a championship for the Suns, because I can tell you this, most minor league teams, when they go to the postseason, lose money, particularly in the South, because it's during football season, school has started, and it costs you as much to operate as you can, and you have to try to sell tickets in a hurry. It's not like you're selling season ticket packages and and have months and months to do it. You pretty much have to turn around and sell it pretty quickly, particularly if you make it in because of a second half qualifier rather than being the first half champion.
And the season ticket holders have to buy tickets.
Yeah, so, but at least you have that contact. And
that's what I'm saying. But so you don't have that many people coming to the ballpark who all automatically already have tickets.
No, and you might only have 500 season ticket holders for a minor league baseball team.
That's exactly right. So that's part of it. I think that I think people should look at the last 5 games. Starts this Thursday night up against the Jaguar game. Yeah. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the final 5 home games of the year for the Suns, and the final 5 home games of Pedro's last dance. So should be fun to go out and support the Bragans for all the fun and the family atmosphere that they've brought. And I guess somewhat similar to when the Weavers sold the team to Shad Khan, you might say that Pedro is passing the baton to a faster runner in Ken Babby. Babby's already pretty much put together a management team. He's bringing a guy in, I think, from Chattanooga to be the general manager, who's been the assistant GM there. He's bringing some people he knows from the Washington Post Company in, from D.C. to be in sales and tickets, and he's bringing some people that he's developed at his place in Akron also in. I think it's a little bit of a, and we'll talk about this once he puts that team in place. I think it's a little bit of a risk not to engage more people, either Chris, who has been the GM there, or some other people in Jacksonville, because Jacksonville is a relationship town that, that new people coming in, they need to assimilate some of the other people. And so far, Babby is going to take a bit of a risk in order maybe to take that step forward. Now, Shad Khan did it. I mean, he brought Lamping in from nowhere, and all the other people that they've hired.
But largely, he waited about a year to make
he did
changes.
He did wait, but they haven't. The Suns organization can be very different almost right away.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Sam Kavaris. Follow me on Twitter at Cole Pepper. You can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, and leave a comment if you like. Big positive comments right now on iTunes, Sam, by both commenters.
Both of them.
We have 2 fans at least.
I appreciate
Who have left comments. We're brought to you as always by Champion Cycling. Locations Arlington, the Beach, and Mandarin. And thanks to you for listening to the Sam and Cole podcast.